This is the most terrifying form of execution in the world. This person will face such punishment. The prison guard puts him on the electric chair and secures his limbs and neck with straps. A sponge soaked in water is placed on the prisoner's head to enhance conductivity. Finally, an iron helmet is placed over the prisoner's head. When a 50,000-volt current passes through a person's body, their fingers will bend severely. Sometimes their eyeballs will burst and hang from their cheeks. The skin in contact with the electrodes will be burned. Because the death scene is too horrifying, his face will be covered with a black cloth. Originally, this was just a dream of Lincoln's. 18 days later, he will be executed by electrocution. But he did not commit any crime. He was framed. To rescue his brother, Michael spent 3 weeks finally breaking through the cement wall between the buildings. He can directly enter the infirmary from his own cell and then escape from the infirmary. However, Lincoln is kept in solitary confinement for the death penalty, and Michael has no way to approach him. Michael studied the prison's blueprints. He discovered that the intersection of the steam pipe and the drainage pipe was a storage room. If a hole can be opened there, then everyone can converge in the infirmary. John told Michael that the area is off limits. The prison factory workers never work there unless there is a fire that needs repair. After several negotiations, they carried flammable materials into the storage room. Just as they were about to open the door, the prison guard's gun was aimed at them. The storage room has already become the resting place for the prison guards, and the escape plan has reached a deadlock. When they were at a loss, they found out that Charles could freely enter and exit the storage room. Lincoln said Charles is trusted by the prison guards, but Charles won't help anyone. Michael still decided to find him. No matter what Michael said, Charles never admitted to hiding $1.5 million. Charles did not agree to escape with Michael. He won't offend the prison guards just to help Michael. Charles had just returned to his cell when Brad found him. As far as he knew, his colleague was killed during the riot, and the body was right outside Charles's dormitory. Brad wanted to get clues from him, but Charles knew the rules of the prison. As long as someone snitches, that person cannot continue to survive in the prison. No matter how Brad pleaded with Charles, he was ultimately politely refused. Brad, who didn't get any clues, immediately turned hostile and even touched Charles's cat before leaving. The next day, Charles saw the motionless cat on the bed, its body already stiff. He was in agony. This cat was his only spiritual solace in prison. Everyone knew that Brad killed his cat. For the first time, he showed a malicious expression. He went to the guard's restroom and placed a coffee pot with adhesive on the power source. He opened Brad's locker and took out a cigarette. Looking at the ugly picture on the wall, Charles finally decided to light the lighter. Not long after, thick smoke emerged from the restroom. Michael saw this scene and was very happy. At this moment, Charles walked past him.
Thanks. I didn't do it for you.
The fire in the restroom was quickly extinguished. Investigators found a cigarette butt at the scene. The warden looked at the cigarette butt and understood everything. Due to Teabag's lackey being killed during the prison riot, Teabag's good friend found him a new lackey. As long as you hold his pocket, he can keep you safe. Teabag killed a prison guard during the riot. Brad swore to find the killer. One day, Teabag's lackey found Brad and claimed to know who the killer was. The prison guards immediately moved in to make the arrest. The prison guard rushed into the prisoner's room and found a photo under the mattress. The photo was of the murdered prison guard's wife. That bed belonged to Teabag's friend. With all the evidence in hand, the guards took Teabag's friend away. It turns out this was Teabag's trap. If someone doesn't take the blame for him, he will be discovered one day. Teabag's friend was betrayed like this. The plan was successful, and Teabag patted his lackey with satisfaction. Michael didn't want to let Teabag join, but Teabag found out about the escape plan and reluctantly agreed. To repair the burned-down restroom, the guards transferred John and the others to work there. Their task was to break through the ground and prepare for the future escape. They started smashing the floor with blankets as a barrier and assigned someone to keep watch at the door. During their break time, they threw the broken stones onto the courtyard. However, Benjamin discovered everything. But Benjamin didn't know what they were doing. Brad found John and threatened him, saying if the money doesn't arrive soon, someone else will take over managing the prison factory. It turns out that John was able to manage the prison factory before because his company regularly sent money to Brad every month. But this month, Brad hadn't received any money. When John learned the news, he immediately contacted his subordinates. He learned that his company had been in trouble and his rights were being taken away from him. If they lose the right to manage the prison factory, their plan will be exposed. On the other hand, Teabag's lackey sought help from Michael, unable to tolerate Teabag's insults anymore. Now Michael didn't want to offend Teabag and ignored him. A few days later, Teabag's lackey committed suicide, and Michael felt overwhelmed with guilt upon witnessing this scene. He made a secret vow to teach Teabag a lesson. John's roommate gained control of the prison factory. It was all arranged by Brad. They picked up their tools and headed towards the restroom where the secret was hidden. John watched as his roommate took over the work in the restroom, feeling extremely angry, because once they peel back the carpet, the plan will be completely exposed. He found his roommate and forced him to hand over control of the prison factory. The situation has changed drastically, and his brother has sided with his roommate. Watching this group of people going in and out of the restroom, Michael and the others became anxious. The only way to regain control of the prison factory is to continue sending money to Brad. The prerequisite for making money quickly is for Michael to provide information about the key witness. This will help John gain the support of his accomplices. As long as the trial takes place next month and the tainted witness testifies, John's accomplices will be put in prison. Michael decided to personally talk to his accomplices. In order to gain their trust, Michael explained in detail how he found the key witness. Before the witness was transferred to the jail, they would be protected by the local sheriff. There were 4 sheriffs in the area. Before entering the prison, Michael called the office and learned that 3 sheriffs were working as usual. Only 1 sheriff was on vacation and not with their family. It was clear that this person had been protecting the tainted witness. The authorities needed a few weeks to determine the witness's new identity. The guarding sheriff would definitely make a call home. Using phone records, Michael found the witness's address. Michael asked him for $200,000 in compensation, and John's accomplices finally agreed to Michael's request, because they had to kill the witness. Otherwise, they would all be charged and sent to prison. As they arrived at the location specified by Michael, a spotlight shone on them. The undercover police quickly apprehended them. It turned out that Michael had given them a fake address. The witness was a good person, just a warehouse custodian for John's company. One night, he accidentally stumbled upon the scene of John's murder. Being a just person, he decided to come forward and report it. Of course, Michael would not reveal the witness's true location. It was all part of the act he and John had staged. John regained control of the prison factory. The toughest part has been breached, and there are only 18 inches left to the tunnel. At the current pace, they estimated that they could escape on Friday. They were very excited, fantasizing about what they would do after escaping. However, at this moment, Brad brought Benjamin into the restroom. He had noticed the broken stones that Michael and the others had secretly thrown, so he bribed the newly appointed manager. He discovered Michael and the others' escape plan in the restroom. In order to join the escape team, Benjamin threatened them by stepping on the hole. In the end, he also became part of the escape plan. Using the opportunity of his wife's prison visit, Michael obtained a credit card. In someone else's hands, it was just an ordinary credit card, but in his hands, it was the key to escape. Sucre took out a mirror and saw that there was no one outside the prison. Michael took out the credit card from the lining of his clothes. Sucre looked puzzled and expressed concern about the consequences if they were discovered by the guards. Michael tore off the film of the credit card. It turned out to be an access card for the prison. Before entering Fox River State Penitentiary, Michael had already studied the access code. He wrote the code on a blank magnetic card and covered it with the credit card sticker. A seemingly ordinary credit card had been transformed into an access card. He needed to enter the inmate property room to retrieve 2 important items from before his incarceration: a pocket tape recorder and a gold watch. Michael brought his belongings to the underground tunnel, and as he was counting the items, he realized the gold watch was missing. That watch was crucial for his escape. Michael found the experienced Charles and asked if he knew that guards would steal inmates' belongings. Charles said that this was the most normal thing to happen. When you're out of prison, it's useless to try to recover lost items. Michael quickly identified the prison guard who stole his watch. He is a vain prison guard who always wears a watch to show off. Michael couldn't accuse him because he couldn't explain how he knew the watch was stolen. For now, the only option was to find a way to steal the watch back. Just then, a boy named David Apolskis walked over. He had been sentenced to 5 years for theft and came to find Michael, hoping to work with them. As it happened, Michael needed his help, so the two struck a deal. Michael helped him get into PI, prison industries, and in return, David helped him steal back the gold watch. The next day, a young man was wheeled into the infirmary, foaming at the mouth. It turned out to be David, and Michael had to admit the kid had real skills. 1 second the watch was on the guard's wrist, and the next, it was gone. The guard hadn't even noticed a thing. Back in the cell, Charles hands the watch to Michael on David's behalf. Right then, Charles asked to join the escape team. Michael was shocked. He had invited him many times before, but he'd never agreed. Now, he was volunteering. Earlier that day, the warden had called Charles into his office. He told him that his daughter had been hospitalized. Doctors believed she might not make it through the week. Their parole request had been denied, but Cooper was granted permission to attend her funeral. The warden's words hit the aging Charles like a ton of bricks. His daughter was the only family he had left in this world. No matter what, he had to find a way to see her one last time. So he made up his mind to join the escape team. However, Michael hesitated. Every member of the team needed to bring value. He thought Charles was too old, had no money, and would just slow everyone down. The next day, Charles found Michael again and handed him a Bible. Inside were several $100 bills. The serial numbers matched those from the money stolen in the infamous hijacking case. Michael was now convinced that Cooper had a fortune hidden somewhere on the outside. They would definitely need that money after the escape, so Michael agreed to let him join. There were already 7 members on the team, and Michael realized they were over capacity. To keep the escape plan on track, they had to cut someone from the team.